Hey guys, what's going on? Steven back again, and I'm back with another Walking Dead video. So this video is by Theo Hunt, and the video is called The Walking Dead Iceberg Explained 2024. I wonder what's going to be on the Walking Dead Iceberg. But I am going to split this video up into two parts, just because the video is about almost 50 minutes long. So I'll do two parts. But, yeah, other than that, yeah, let's just jump right in, shall we? Here we go, The Walking Dead Iceberg.
The Walking Dead premiered on October 31st, 2010 and ran for 11 seasons with 177 episodes. The hit TV show was so popular it even spawned 6 spin-off series.
I know, so far, 6 spin-offs. So far. But yeah, that makes me wonder, what is going to be the next big must-see cultural phenomenon TV show? You know, back then, 2010, we had The Walking Dead, we had Game of Thrones, you know, two massive shows. Some people were making them go head-to-head against each other for whatever reason, even though they had, like, nothing to do with them. Nothing to do with each other. Yeah, they had zombies, but yeah, Game of Thrones had magical zombies. That's about it. But either way, those were two massive cultural phenomenon shows. And their spin-offs haven't really just lived up to the main shows, you know, which is kind of disappointing. I mean, Game of Thrones, or House of the Dragon, I should say, you know, that's just, it's good, but yeah, that just sucks that, like, cool, like, season 2 just ended, and now it's going to be, like, another 2 or 3 years before we get, like, season 3. It's like, well, what the hell, like, you know, what's going on? And we're only getting, at this point, like, maybe if we're lucky, 10 episodes. But we're waiting, like, 3 years for maybe 10 episodes. You know, same thing with The Walking Dead. You know, some of their spin-offs are hits, some of them are not. You know, granted, they are doing a lot of milking out of The Walking Dead. Granted, they are doing a lot of milking out of Game of Thrones. They got like 4 or 5 spin-offs in the works. They got like, what, Duncan Egg, and I think like an Arya spin-off. There was talks of like a Jon Snow spin-off. I don't know what the hell is going to happen with that. At least I think. I don't know if they canceled any of those, but yeah, I remember like a Jon Snow spin-off. Like, cool, he's banished to the far north. What? White Walkers are dead. Whatever. But yeah, it makes me wonder what is going to be the next massive cultural must-see show. You know, I guess, yeah, you could say like Stranger Things. I mean, that is massive, but that's ending. The end of this year, or January 1st of next year, will be the final episode, and that's that. Cobra Kai was a big show, but once again, that's over. That's ended. I have no idea. Wednesday came back, but apparently a lot of people are not happy with that, because we've waited 3 years for 8 episodes, and they're splitting it into 2 parts. Like, really? So we watch 4 episodes now, and then, what, in a month or 2, we watch the other 4 episodes. And we waited 3 years for that. Like me, I'm just gonna wait until the final part comes out, and I'll just binge watch season 1 and season 2 all together. I'm not gonna, you know, watch 4 episodes, start a new show, and then when the other part comes out, you know, jump back and be like, oh yeah, what happened in the first part? Oh, I don't remember, because I was watching another show, so I was kind of invested in that. I don't remember what happened, you know, so, but yeah, it just makes me wonder what's going to be the next big hit cultural show. Who knows? All right, let's get back to it.
In today's video, I'm doing something extremely different from my regular character analysis videos, and instead, I'm going to be delving into the facts, theories, and lore into one of the greatest TV shows ever made. So strap in as we investigate the Walking Dead Iceberg. Now, before we start,
Dale saves Herschel, JDM's son, Pike Deaths, Daryl and Rick. Title name drop. Rick's jeans. Greg Nicotero, Carl's haircut. Lucille. Eastman's shirt. Variant walkers. The tank walker. The Whispers in season 3. Yeah, I mean that one. Okay. Yeah, because we had Morgan, you know, people wearing dead people's faces and stuff like that. Famous Walker. Yeah, I think there was a couple. Dr. Edward Jenner. Aliens and Ghosts. Okay. Beta and Jeffrey Grimes.
Divided this iceberg into 3 layers. Layer 1 is surface level facts and theories that some people might have heard of. Layer 2 is where we start to descend into the more obscure knowledge. And finally, we have the gloomy depths of Layer 3, which is very obscure and extremely cool knowledge. Now, a quick disclaimer, I've left off some really well-known theories just because they have already been covered extensively, such as the PPP card, the helicopters within the show, and who Judith's
Has the
real father
PPP
is.
card been covered? I haven't seen
Without
anything
further
like that
ado,
yet.
Let's delve into layer 1 of the iceberg. Dale saves Herschel. Dale dies in season 2, episode 11, titled Judge, Jury, Executioner. However, it was originally meant to be Herschel who died in this scene, as Dale was meant to live a lot longer. But after Frank Darabont fell out with the network AMC,
Dale
the actor
wanted
who
off the
plays
show.
Dale, named Jeffrey DeMunn, was no longer interested in continuing with the show, with the absence of Darabont, so he asked to be killed off, which subsequently meant that Herschel was kept alive for 2 whole seasons longer than he was supposed to be. And I personally...
So then, would have Dale had Herschel's story? So would, you know, when they went into the prison and stuff like that, would Dale have gotten his leg bitten and then Rick cut off Dale's leg and stuff like that? But then I don't know how well that would have worked out in the prison when we had you know, that flu and virus floating around and stuff like that, because we had that awesome episode, you know, with Herschel, you know, doing all the doctor stuff, you know, that fantastic episode and stuff like that. I don't know how that would have worked with Dale, or how that would have changed. You know, would there still have been that sickness and stuff like that, or would it have just happened and then it just went away, or what? Because, you know, Dale's, you know, as far as we know, doesn't have, you know, medical training, so I don't know how that would have played out, but it would have been interesting. And I guess, would Dale have been the one the governor killed? You know, would he have taken his Herschel's story?
Much prefer the character of Herschel, so in my opinion this was a blessing in disguise. But it does make you think, how was Dale supposed to be killed off? Would he have been given Herschel's death in the show, or been given his comic book death, which ended up being given to Bob? Either way, I guess we will never know the original plans for the character of Dale. The Pike deaths. In season 9 episode 15, titled The Calm Before, the infamous Pike deaths happened, as the Whisperers cemented themselves as one of the most cruel and violent villain groups in the whole show.
They were really
if you
cool.
Take the first initials of all of the Pike victims in order, it spells the Art of Death. Those characters,
right, I did hear about that one.
Alec, Rodney, Tammy, Ozzy, Frankie, DJ, Enid, Addie, Tara, and finally Henry. It's an extremely cool Easter egg and is a rather poetic way for these characters to bow out of the show. However, I do kind of find it hard to believe that Alpha knew the names of all of these people despite not being in the community.
That would have been a lot
very
of
cool
recon.
writing and a very good Easter egg. Jeffrey Dean Morgan's son, is a walker.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you know that Jeffrey
Yep.
D. Morgan's son named Gus is a huge fan of the show? So much so that
think he was one of the,
appears as a walker in the episode Out of the Ashes in season
Gatewalkers.
11, as he attempts to bite the hand of some kids playing around in Alexandria
Yep.
before Judith intervenes. I'll put some pictures on screen now, but this is a very niche fact which I only found out recently, and I think it's so awesome that Gus was able to briefly appear in the show, in which his father is such a big star, and also very cool of his dad to get him involved in the show he loves so much. Travis Manawa. Travis Manawa, portrayed by Cliff Curtis, was an extremely well-written and fan-favourite character from the early seasons of Fear the Walking
Especially
Dead.
that
which is a
one
Walking Dead
episode
spin-off show.
where he
However,
went
the writers were forced
crazy.
to write him out due to Cliff Curtis signing a 3-year movie deal with Avatar. In the episode New Frontier, Travis is shot in a helicopter by Tucker and his men, and he is shot in the stomach and the neck and proceeds to jump out of the low-flying helicopter. And this is the last we ever see from this character. However, a pretty sizable number of fans don't actually believe the character is dead. Although I am firmly on the side of him being actually dead, many people argue that Rick and other characters who are shown within the main show survive helicopter crashes all the time. Plus, we
but
never
shot in the
see
stomach
Travis's
and the
body.
neck?
They also argue that Troy Otto could survive what happened to him, so why can't Travis? Either way, it's a mystery to this day, and I don't think we will ever get it.
I don't know. Surviving a neck shot? I don't know. Can you? I guess depending on... I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it, so I don't remember where in the neck, he was shot. Was he, like, grazed or, like, Yeah, I can't see that one. Can't see that one. And then how far was the helicopter fall?
An answer to the whereabouts of Travis. Is he a walker or is he still out there?
No, he's probably a walker.
Porter. Eugene Porter goes through his ups and downs within the series, from changing sides to saving Rick and Co. in the Savior War, but in the end, the character does get a happy ending. In the last episode of Season 11, we see Eugene and Max have had a child named Rosie, who is named after Eugene's close friend, Rosita. However, the baby is played by Kerry Payton, who plays King Ezekiel's real-life daughter. Now, I'm really starting to notice a theme of actors getting their children involved
That's
in the
pretty
Walking
cool.
Dead
That I
universe,
didn't know.
but as Eugene lifts up his baby to the camera, King Ezekiel is actually doing a speech in front of a crowd about the future of the children in the Commonwealth. Could this possibly be a hint to the fact that his real-life child is in this scene? Rick and Daryl. Now, we all know that in the show, Rick and Daryl develop a brotherly-like bond, and the actors who portray these characters, Norman Reedus and Andrew Lincoln, also struck up quite the friendship on the show. Norman famously pranked Andrew in an interview by getting him to ask where the toilet is in Japanese, whilst telling him it meant "thank you for having me." Also, for scenes that Andrew Lincoln had to smile in within the show, Norman Reedus would often hide just out of shot and tickle his feet to make him smile and laugh in these scenes. And Norman even has the beard that Andrew Lincoln wore in the early seasons of the show in his fridge at home. References. The Walking Dead has referenced several other TV shows and media franchises throughout its 11 seasons. For example, when Rick wakes up from his coma in Atlanta, he looks at the clock in the hospital room, and the clock reads 2:17, which is a nod to the infamous Stephen King novel The Shining, as it pays homage to the most haunted room in the hotel, that being room 217. And that's not the only Stephen King reference in the whole show, as in season 4 episode 9, Carl walks into a room and the Stephen King book The Stand can be seen on the bookshelf in the background. Another popular media that is often hidden in plain sight within many episodes is Invincible. As if you didn't know, Robert Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead, also created Invincible. And Stephen Yeun, who plays Glenn in The Walking Dead, is even the voice actor for Mark in Invincible. But the Easter eggs include comic appearances in the show, action figure appearances, and even in Invincible Season 2, the main character Mark gets transported to the Walking Dead universe momentarily. I just think it's awesome that the creator of both comics and the shows, Robert Kirkman, gives fans subtle hints in either show. It's a very nice touch. But another show that is frequently referenced in the early seasons of The Walking Dead is
Breaking
Breaking
Bad.
Bad.
Yeah.
Kirkman says he made hints to the show as he is close friends with Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad. First off, the car that Glenn takes from Atlanta in season 1 of the show is the same car which Walter buys his wife. Secondly, Merle Dixon, who's Daryl's brother, can also be seen with a bag of blue crystal meth, which is infamously made by Walter White. And many fans believe when Daryl talks about a quote, "janky little white guy," that he is referring to Jesse from the show. Either way, it's a very cool nod to the show, and some fans even...
And then there's the other one where people tie Walter White's blue meth to the apocalypse. That's what started the apocalypse, was Walter White's meth. I think that, I mean, I don't believe it, but I mean, that'd be kind of cool. You know, I mean, yeah, that's just a little Easter egg of the blue meth and stuff like that, but that'd be kind of interesting, you know, if Walter White's blue meth is the one that started the zombie apocalypse.
And think that the two shows take place in the same universe. Title name drop. The title of the show has only been said by two characters, Rick Grimes in his iconic Season 5 Barn speech, and lastly Daryl Dixon in the last episode of the entire show. And I can't think of two more fitting characters to name drop the title. The Puzzle. Now, we all know the story of Carol's real daughter, Sophia. She gets chased by walkers into the forest and goes missing, and this is how Rick and the group stumble upon Herschel's farm. And they eventually find out that she is turned into a walker and was being kept in Herschel's barn. However, in Season 4, the episode The Grove, when Carol is confessing to Tyrese about killing Karen and David, they are building a puzzle on the table.
Yeah.
And if that puzzle was to be completed, it would actually make this exact picture of Sophia. And I mean, this is such a cool little Easter egg, and the puzzle fact was actually confirmed in an interview with Melissa McBride, who's the actress who plays Carol. Rick's jeans. During the governor's attack on the prison, Rick is shot in the leg and gets pretty badly beaten up by the governor. However, he is saved by Michonne, who stabs the governor in the chest with a katana. But did you know that the bullet hole in Rick's jeans stays there for the remainder of the show? I'll put some images on screen now, but on his left leg, right on his thigh, you can see the bullet hole in his trousers, which is a wild detail, and it remains over the course of 6 seasons.
Continuity.
I mean, the attention to detail here is phenomenal. That being said, does this mean that Rick has wore the same pair of trousers for the entirety of the apocalypse? And if so, I really hope he's washed them. Shane and Randall. Randall is a minor but pivotal character in The Walking Dead Season 2. As a member of an unnamed hostile group, his character plays a key role in exploring the moral dilemmas faced by Rick Grimes and his group, as they argue whether or not to kill the young man. And funnily enough, the person who wants to kill him the most is Shane. However, did you know the actor who plays Shane, John Bernthal, and Randall's actor, Michael Zegan, actually went to the same college? And John was actually the one who recommended that Michael try out for the role of Randall. And funnily enough, even though John Bernthal's character is 15 years or so older than Randall's character in the show, there is only a 2-year age difference between the two real-life actors. Oceanside. Oceanside is a community that got introduced into the show in Season 6. However, they never really play a big role within the story, as they always felt a bit pointless. However, they seemingly vanish in Season 11, and they are never shown on the screen again. However, this point is extremely anticlimactic, as there is a very simple explanation to why this happens. The audience was meant to get closure for this storyline. Multiple scenes showing Oceanside alive and well were written into the Season 11 script. However, they were later removed due to problems during production, meaning that the audience never saw these scenes in the final cut, which is why the fan theories of Oceanside being killed by or abducted by other groups just aren't true. And in reality, the reason Oceanside just vanishes is very anticlimactic. Rosita's death. Rosita is introduced to us in Season 4 alongside Abraham Ford and Eugene Porter as they travel to Washington, D.C., believing that Eugene has a cure for the zombie apocalypse. At first, Rosita's role is a primarily supportive one. As she follows Abraham's mission, she is a tough and capable survivor, but initially much of her story revolves around her relationship with Abraham. However, the character starts to slowly gain a bigger role within the show, and by the final season, Rosita plays a significant role in the struggle against the Commonwealth. She remains as one of the core fighters who is fiercely loyal to the group and to her daughter Coco. By the end of the series, Rosita is gravely injured while rescuing Coco from a herd of walkers and is bit. In one of the show's most emotional moments, she succumbs to her injuries after sharing a heartfelt goodbye with her friends and loved ones. However, Rosita was never actually meant to be killed off. The writers originally planned for her to live, but after Rosita's actress, Christian Serratos, requested her to be killed off, as she thought it would make the final episode more emotional and also make more sense from a story point of view for a major character to die. And she's absolutely right. Just imagine in the last episode if Rosita didn't die. I mean, we wouldn't have had a major character death other than villains since like Jesus or Tara in season 9 of the show, which now looking back makes you realise they really didn't kill anyone of note in the later seasons of the show. But as much as I loved Rosita, I think it was a really good move killing her off for the final
season
episode.
9.
Just to make it that bit more emotional. Greg Nicotero.
That's kind of crazy.
Greg Nicotero is a horror legend and the special effects creator for The Walking Dead. He is the person that brings the walkers to life and makes them so creepy. And he also
does
appears
a great job
frequently throughout the show as a walker and has been killed by Andrea alone on 3 separate occasions. Carl's haircut. After the death of Carl's mother Laurie, who tragically dies giving birth to Judith at the prison, he vows to never get his hair cut again, in order to honour his mother, as she was always the one who would cut his hair for him. Another reason for Carl's long hair is that Scott Gimple asked Chandler Riggs, who's the actor who plays Carl, to grow it out in preparation for season 6, where Carl was due to lose his eye, and this would be a way to cover the bandage. And whilst we're on the topic of Chandler Riggs, did you know that he actually appears in season 11 of The Walking Dead, despite his character being killed off in season 8? He appears as a farmer in the background. As Chandler was passing by, he stopped in to say hello to the cast as they were shooting. The production team offered him an appearance as a farmer in the background as an extra, to which Chandler Riggs obliged. And the pictures you're seeing now are the pictures of Chandler Riggs on set in season 11.
If only he lived.
The CRM stands for the Civic Republic Military, which is the military army of the Civic Republic, one of, if not the most, advanced societies to emerge after the zombie apocalypse. The CRM seeks to rebuild
lasted
human
for 6
civilization,
episodes.
but they are extremely pragmatic and offer a ruthless approach. They prioritize the greater good above individual lives, even if that means sacrificing whole communities. The CRM is rumored to have taken control of Philadelphia just 1 month into the apocalypse, housing a population of 200,000. This means in Dead City, if Maggie and Negan had decided to head through Philadelphia to get to New York, they most likely would have either been killed or captured by the CRM, which could have been a very nice segue from Dead City to The Ones Who Live. But then again, I'm not even sure if the timelines would even match up due to Dead City taking place between 3 and 5 years after season 11. Okay, so that wraps up our surface level facts. It's now time to move deeper into the depths of the Walking Dead media and move on to layer 2. The orange backpack. The orange backpack is an item that consistently pops up within the show. So I will first go over the story of this item, and then I will talk about what I believe the meaning of it is. This backpack first appears in season 3, episode 12, titled Clear. As Rick and Carl drive to look for guns, they eventually find Morgan. However, on their way there, a man tries to wave them down for help with an orange backpack. However, they all ignore him and speed past. However, after returning back to the prison just a few hours later, they find the man has been devoured by the dead, and the only thing left of him is his orange backpack. Rick pulls over, chucks the orange backpack in the boot, and returns back to the prison. After this incident, it then becomes Glenn's backpack, and then it ends up with Daryl after Glenn's death. But it eventually ends up with Carl for a bit before the last time we see the backpack is when Michonne gifts it to Virgil at Oceanside. So for a long time, fans believed that the backpack represented death, and whoever wore it was destined to die at some point in the show. However, now the series is over, we can disprove this theory, as neither Daryl or Virgil die, and they were both owners of the orange backpack. What I believe is the backpack symbolizes hope and a second chance for an individual. After the brutal way in which the item was found, it ends up in the hands of Glenn, one of the most moral and kind individuals we see throughout the whole show. And after his death, it ends up with Daryl, who has grown throughout the apocalypse and become a kinder individual, which we see demonstrated by the fact that he lets Dwight go and lets him have a second chance at life despite being tortured by him. And
well,
then there's Carl, who was there on the...
I think he let Dwight go because, like, everybody else was, you know, kind of against him, you know. Tara was like, yeah, you know, it is what it is, and I don't remember if she brought it up or not, but, like, can you believe him? He's such a bad guy. It's like, you were on the other side of the prison fence, if I remember correctly, a long time ago, so... And here you are now, friendly, you know, yes, you didn't directly kill, like, Herschel or anything like that. True. But you were on the other side of that gate, or the other side of that fence, so... So, I mean, when she started to drop it against Dwight, you know... It was kind of everybody against Daryl at that point.
Day of the Hitchhiker.
I would like to see him return, though, after all these years.
Can do in this world. And it's a full circle moment as he uses the very backpack of the guy he failed to save to carry supplies to help Sadiq at the gas station. And then finally there's Virgil. He starts off as a guy who's driven by the loss of his family and is consumed by this and turns crazy. He drugs Michonne on Bloodsworth Island. And what does Michonne hallucinate whilst drugged? That's right, the orange backpack. She envisions herself as the hitchhiker, which shows us she is feeling immensely guilty about the situation and what happened that day. However, after getting free and getting back, Virgil actually changes whilst in possession of this backpack. He becomes more stable and he actually saves Connie's life, showing that everyone can change. And I think this orange backpack symbolizes this. And I think it represents hope and the light at the end of the tunnel, as everyone who owned this backpack evolved in some shape or form. Human history. This is the theory that The Walking Dead represents a repeat of human history in various ways, particularly in its depiction of the collapse of society and the struggle to rebuild. The show mirrors historical patterns of human behaviour when faced with chaos, survival, and the need for social order. First is the tribalism period. As a larger government fails, communities in The Walking Dead become isolated and self-reliant. Just like ancient or medieval tribes, people form tight-knit groups where loyalty is to one own's community rather than a nation or a larger political entity.
Oh, and then you start
just rulers over the smaller communities. Groups like the Kingdom, under Ezekiel, Oceanside and Hilltop reflect medieval civilizations, where power
and then you start to make trade deals and stuff like that with other
rulers.
Communities
These societies
and stuff.
often barter resources and engage in trades or warfare, much like medieval states. And finally, violence and conquest. The cycle of violence in The Walking Dead mirrors historical cycles of war and conquest. As groups seek for territory and resources, conflicts arise just like throughout human history. This is a prime example of the Roman conquest. Groups like the Saviors, led by Negan, the Governor, and even the CRM represent the rise of leaders who seek to dominate others through violence and oppression. I mean, the virus itself can be seen as a metaphor for historical pandemics like the Black Plague or even the Spanish flu, which decimated human populations and created a sense of fear, chaos, and a breakdown of social order. This theory suggests that no matter what state the world is in, if you strip things back down to the basics, humans will always repeat the course of history, as it is deep-rooted within human instinct to lust for power and control. Norman Reedus. Okay, so after those last 2 points, this one is a bit more light-hearted. Did you know that Daryl Dixon was originally meant to ride a horse? However, Norman Reedus was scared of horses, so they changed it for a motorbike. Also, during a Walker Stalker convention, did you know a fan actually bit Norman Reedus out of excitement? I mean, that's a pretty strange reaction to meeting your idol, but Norman saw the funny side and didn't press charges against the fan, and even took a photo with them. Aikido. Aikido is a Japanese martial art that emphasizes blending with an attacker's motion to redirect their force and achieve a peaceful resolution. This is what Eastman teaches to Morgan in season 6 of the main show. But did you know that the book that Eastman gives to Morgan appears in 2 separate spin-off shows? First, it appears in Fear the Walking Dead, when Morgan gifts the book to Nick and then Alicia after Nick passes away. And it also makes an appearance as Sergeant Okafor owns a copy of the same book in The Ones Who Live.
Okay.
I just thought this was a very neat little item that appears in multiple different spin-off shows. Whilst we are talking about Hokkaido, did you also know that Eastman's t-shirt whilst training Morgan is a reference to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? His t-shirt reads "Save the Terrapins," and if you didn't know, the creator of the Ninja Turtles was named Kevin Eastman, so this is almost certainly a deliberate Easter egg. AMC spoilers.
That's kind of cool.
For this next point, my good friend and fellow YouTuber Ty Swell is going to talk you through it. And I'm sure many of you will be very familiar with his content, but his link will be at the very top of this video's
AMC
description,
spoilers?
so make sure you check him out after finishing up with this video.
Hey folks, huge thanks to Theo for letting me talk on his channel. Now, there's actually quite a few examples of AMC and The Walking Dead spoiling their own show, and I'm not just talking about the 3 characters they straight up announced would be leaving. The first example I have comes in Season 2. One of the biggest conflicts in the series at that time was Shane's descent into villainy, and fans were extremely curious to see if the character was going to make it out of the season or not, as he had already outlasted his comic counterpart by a large margin. Well, unfortunately, as covered by many news outlets, including The Hollywood Reporter at that time, those looking to pre-order The Walking Dead Season 2 limited edition Blu-ray set on the official AMC website back in March 2010 would have been greeted to a line in the description that mentioned one of its bonus features included a look into Shane's final episode, nearly 2 weeks before the airing of Better Angels, effectively spoiling the second season's biggest death.
Jeez.
The next example I have comes at the Season 5 mid-season finale with the loss of Beth Green. Some of you may not be aware of this, but new episodes did not air live simultaneously across the world, with some places receiving them up to an entire day later from its initial broadcast.
Yep.
But whoever was running The Walking Dead's Facebook page following the episode Coda's East Coast US premiere was surely fired that night, as they tweeted out an image of Daryl holding Beth's cold body with the caption, #RipBeth, spoiling the death for millions who hadn't yet seen the episode and happened to be scrolling through Facebook.
Ooh.
And finally, this one's quite a bit more subtle, but in the Season 5B Surviving Together trailer, keen-eyed viewers had noticed a quick shot of Tyrese sprinting through the foggy woods. What was interesting about this, however, was the length of his beard, which was significantly shorter than we last saw in 508. Some could have attributed this to the group's incoming arrival to Alexandria, but with every other character appearing just as they had in the previous episode, it wasn't exactly a shock when he met his end in the mid-season premiere. I'm sure there are more instances of AMC and The Walking Dead spoiling themselves, but these are some of the most interesting in my opinion. So if you have any other examples, definitely leave them in the comments down below. And thanks again to Theo for putting this iceberg together.
And then, of course, the big one. Hey, Rick's leaving the show. These are his final 6 episodes, his final 5 episodes, 4 episodes, 3 episodes, 2 episodes, his final episode. It's like, really? I mean, I get it. Build the hype. Everyone coming back to be like, oh man, this is Rick's final episodes? Oh, I gotta see that. But the shock value. That would have been good. So
Carol's children. Carol Peltier is an extreme badass. She was almost built for this post-apocalyptic world. She is very talented at a lot of things, but one of those things, unfortunately, is not keeping her children alive. It's become a bit of a joke amongst the fanbase, the fact that every child she seems to look after ends up dead somehow. However, did you know that all 3 of the child actors she plays a motherly figure to within the show are siblings in real life? This is Sophia, who is played by Madison Lintz, the younger version of Henry, who is played by Maxon Lintz, and finally the older version of Henry, who is played by Matt Lintz. I'll put a picture on screen now of the 3 of them standing together, but the resemblance between them is crazy. But to me, it's just wild how they cast a family of young actors to kill them all off in the show. I guess it's the oldest sibling, Matt, who has the bragging rights though within the family, as his character lived the longest. The Whisperers in...
Alright, so there we go. I am going to call it here for today for part 1. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. You know, especially, well, the top layer and stuff like that. Knew a whole bunch of those. Didn't know about the Tyrese death and stuff like that. That was allegedly, somewhat spoiled and stuff like that. That one I did not know. But yeah, these are really cool and stuff. These are, yeah, these were very interesting. I didn't know that about, Carol's kids and stuff like that, all being played by the same family. That's pretty neat as well. But yeah, these were, these are pretty cool. The puzzle didn't know about that one either. Yeah, the Rosita one was interesting. So last character death was back in season 9. Basically with Tara. That's kind of interesting. Carl's haircut. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, the orange backpack. Norman Reedus. The Shane one I didn't know about. But yeah, these were pretty cool. It just makes me wonder. I didn't like the continuity of Rick's jeans getting shot in the leg and stuff like that. Travis, yep, I'm pretty sure he's dead. But yeah, these are really cool. These are very interesting. It makes me wonder what's going to happen. What else we got in, still in level 2 of the Iceberg. And then we're going to see what is in level 3. That's where things are going to get interesting. Because, yeah, it showed like aliens and ghosts. Like, okay, kind of, that one there is going to pique my interest a little bit. I don't know about that one. But yeah, these were really cool. I enjoyed these. So, yeah, just let me know all your thoughts and comments down below. Any of these you did not know about, let me know. Did you notice about the spoiling of all the, Shane's death and stuff like that? Did you know about Carol's children all being played by the same family? Orange backpack? Yeah, just let me know what you guys think. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. That'd be awesome. Remember, feel free to subscribe to my channel. And of course, if you have any other videos you guys want me to check out, let me know down below in the comment section, and I'd be happy to do a video on it. So other than that, yeah, just stick around. More videos are on the way, and I will see you guys next time.